Hi, it's Mindy with Astrology by Love, and today I was wanting to talk about Eminem's natal chart. So I think we probably all know who Eminem is. He broke out into the rap scene, I think it was 2008 or 9, and was kind of a little bit controversial because of his skin color. This is his chart, so this is what I'm going to be discussing today, and Eminem was born October 17th, 1972 at 11:04 a.m. in St. Joseph, Missouri. So I got this chart off of astro.com. So if y'all want to go to astro.com and print one off to follow along, please do. So there's a lot of neat things in Eminem's chart. So I wanted to mention 4 of them real quick. One is the stellium in his 10th house. So that's Pluto, Mars, and Uranus are conjunct right there. It's a loose conjunction, but they're in the 10th house. He also has a grand air trine. So that's the blue lines here that form a triangle. So that's pretty cool. And then he also has a YOD, which is known as the finger of God. It's a destiny point, and that's the green dotted lines there. So we're going to talk about that. And then his sun is also in line with the star Spica, which is really cool. So we'll discuss all that. We'll discuss other planetary placements as well, but I wanted to go ahead and mention those 4. So the stellium in Eminem's 10th house is a big part of the reason why we know him. A stellium is when 3 or more planets are within the same house. And so you can see we've got Pluto, Mars, and Uranus there. And the 10th house rules our business life, our work accomplishments, business successes, public recognition from that. And so Eminem has Uranus, Mars, and Pluto loosely conjunct. And Uranus is the planet that rules rebellion, innovation. It rules electricity, astrology, and mainly Uranus loves to be free from rules. So wherever Uranus is in your chart, if you try to be really structured in that area of your life, it's going to mess it up. It's going to cause chaos and destruction. It's going to pull the rug out from underneath you. It doesn't want you to have rules and structure in that area. So Uranus is in Eminem's 10th house. Mars in the 10th house. Mars is the traditional god of war and also rules traditional masculinity. So in our birth chart, it shows us how we go after things, and it's also the masculine side of our sexuality. So, and then Pluto is an intense planet. The planet Mars, and let me show you real quick. So this is Uranus right here, and then we've got Mars with the arrow, and then Pluto looks like the letter P with a little tail. And so Mars was traditionally ruled by Aries and Scorpio. And but in 1930, the planet Pluto was discovered, and at some point after that, the sign Scorpio was assigned to the planet Pluto. Scorpio is one of the few astrological signs that is represented by 3 different things. It's really the only astrological sign represented by 3 different things. That's the scorpion, which the majority of us know. It's also represented by a snake, and depending on which source you read, also the eagle or the phoenix. And in my experience, the planet Pluto typically operates like the phoenix. So Pluto's energy is fixed, focused, obsessive, and when what it wants is not working or just isn't right, instead of adjusting it, it burns it to the ground and starts all over. It's kind of an intense energy, and Pluto will come back, build it bigger, stronger, greater, but it's a pretty emotional ride. So going back to the stellium, when you combine the energies of Uranus and Mars, you get an unpredictable sort of bad boy presence in Eminem's work. And to top it off, you've got this intense drive of Pluto for, that shows the perfection and obsession. And what you get is Eminem. He's got this chaotic, masculine winter vibe, so to say. And, that's basically how we know him. So also notice that Pluto and Mars are square to Jupiter. So that's a 90-degree angle, Pluto and Mars, and the red lines go to Jupiter right here in his first house. So Jupiter is the planet of abundance and expansion and, generosity, and pretty much expands everything it touches. And a square is it's a difficult contact. So it's something that it shows where you're going to struggle, but once you overcome it, it becomes bigger and better because Jupiter's involved. So, it made it really difficult for Eminem to succeed at first. He really had to work. But once he started working, once he started doing better, Jupiter rewarded him greatly because of it. So it makes it difficult, but then it comes back with even bigger rewards. So Jupiter square somewhere in your chart really isn't the trouble that you may think it is when you first see it. I know we've all seen the movie 8 Mile, which is somewhat loosely based on Eminem's life story. So he definitely did the work and hustled to be where he is today. Go Eminem. So now let's talk about this air trine. So a trine is when 2 planets or points on a chart are 120 degrees away from each other, or close to it. When 3 planets are involved, it's called a grand trine. And so Eminem has this loose conjunction we just talked about, trine his moon and his Saturn. And these are all in air signs. The air signs are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. And air signs are clear thinking, logical, rational. They, they like to make decisions with their head. And instead of feeling things, they tend to analyze feelings, theorize feelings. But they're the least likely to just go off on an emotional tangent. And so he has got his grand trine in the air signs. So intelligence is what Eminem would consider sexy. People with a lot of air signs have to have that mental stimulation. They have to have a little level of intelligence to keep them interested. And so, Eminem's grand air trine includes this loose conjunction we just talked about. So let's talk about the moon and Saturn. When the moon and Saturn are trine, like they are here, it gives a emotional maturity. People with a moon trine Saturn typically had to grow up fast. And so, Eminem, we've heard about his stories and troubles from childhood. He had to grow up fast. And whenever someone with a moon trine Saturn, is handed responsibility, they normally succeed with it. They're emotionally responsible for themselves and a lot of times for others. So, that's pretty cool. We're talking about a sexy bad boy, unpredictable, with emotional maturity. So, yeah, that's kind of hot. So, let me also talk about something else that's, either hot or not, depending on how you look at it. And that is Saturn in the 7th house. So, Saturn's got, it can be, a lot of people see Saturn as a bad planet with a lot of negative energy. When you think of Saturn, you need to think of restrictions and standards. So if you have high standards in the area that Saturn is in your chart, then you'll succeed. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. But Saturn does cause blockages. It does cause struggles. And until you're behaving in the highest and best manner in that house, it's going to cause you some struggles. So, Saturn in the 7th house, like I said, that could be hot or not. The 7th house tells us about our long-term relationships. It tells us about our long-term partnerships, like business partnerships and marriage partnerships. A lot of times people focus on the marriage partnerships. And so, the Saturn energy can either block and frustrate long-term partnerships, or it can give it the highest standards with the utmost stability. And typically people, with this Saturn energy in the 7th house, especially with it flowing to his moon, when they enter a business partnership or a marriage partnership, they're serious about it. They're there to work. They're there to make it last. They're there to make it stable. And, you know, he wants to work on his commitments, and he's got the emotional maturity for it. So, you know, we know Eminem married young, and when Saturn is in the 7th house, it's usually not advised for someone to marry young. Saturn comes back around its full cycle around the age of a person's 28 to 30, and at that point, you know, typically the work on yourself, the maturity has developed, and so people with Saturn in the 7th house usually do better waiting to get married. We do know that he tried to, or that he did marry his child's mother a second time, and it didn't work out, and that's, you know, that's hard, being young and having Saturn in the 7th house. So, another thing that, you know, I saw that was pretty cool is that Neptune, right here, is in the 12th house. So, Neptune is the part of our, Neptune is the planet that, it's fantasy, it's spirituality, it's creativity, artistic talents, and it's at home in the 12th house, and it gives Eminem deep empathy and intuition for others. He can easily feel the emotions of other people and has a highly developed sixth sense. Neptune is the artist of the solar system and is at home in the 12th house, like I said, and gives Eminem artistic talent being placed there. Something else to know about planets in the 12th house, though, and basically any planets do this, it gives a tendency towards addiction of socially acceptable drugs like marijuana, alcohol, and in Eminem's case, you know, pills. He's been pretty open about his struggle with pills, and Neptune in the 12th house shows the struggle in his natal chart. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the star Spica. So it's at 23.5 degrees of Libra, and there are a couple of dozen stars in the sky that when a planet moves close to them, the energy of that star will influence the planet's energy. Spica is one of those stars, and it truly is a fortunate star. And it's within 1 degree of Eminem's sun when he was born. So ancient texts say that Spica has the nature of Venus and Mars. So when Venus and Mars are together in a chart, they create a sort of favor for that person, a sort of magnetic attraction of good things. And so people with Spica conjunct their sun can do a little bit of work and get a big reward. And when they do a lot of work, they get huge rewards. This is truly, truly a fortunate placement. And finally, I want to talk about Eminem's YOD. The word YOD is actually the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet and stands for the word hand. In astrological terms, the word YOD is known to mean the finger of God and shows where a person's destiny lies. Not everybody has a YOD in their chart, but those who do typically change the world in some way. Typically people with a YOD, just a moment. I apologize, I've been sick. Typically people with a YOD are put on the planet to change things in some way. So if you watched my Jesse Smollett video, you'll remember that he had a YOD as well. Watch that video too, it's really good. So Eminem's YOD involves Mercury in his 11th house, Venus in the 9th, and then the 4th house with Chiron. So that's right here. Mercury's in the 11th, Venus in the 9th, and here's Chiron in the 4th. So the 4th house shows us our family, our childhood, our roots, our upbringing. Just a sec. And Chiron shows where we are wounded and where we struggle to heal. And so having Chiron in your 4th house is really kind of difficult. It's not a fun placement. It shows us that Eminem had a lot of traumas and difficulties growing up. And, you know, we know this from his music. These traumas and difficulties caused him to have an uncomfortable relationship with where Mercury and Venus were in his chart. So a YOD is 150 degree angle, so it's two signs that don't go well with each other. They have a hard time connecting. Eminem's Mercury in his 11th house struggles to connect with the pain and the trauma from his childhood. So we see that. When Mercury is in your 11th house, it shows that you mentally thrive and are verbally stimulated around your friends and your chosen social circle. So this connection from Chiron to Mercury shows an awkward predicament. Eminem has a hard time relating these two areas of his life. Eminem's home life and childhood was difficult to relate to his friends. Also, Venus is in Eminem's 9th house, and it's affected by this YOD as well. Venus in a man's chart shows the kind of woman he is attracted to. It also shows us what we perceive as luxury, fun, and the good life. So the 9th house shows us about our higher levels of learning, how we feel about traveling. Foreign countries also tells us about our philosophical and spiritual ideas and pursuits. Having Venus here shows that Eminem will probably travel and enjoy it. And of course, we know he's toured with his concerts and everything. I'm sure he's traveled quite a bit beyond that. And it shows that he's probably attracted to intelligent women of different cultures, and also shows that he will flourish in writing and publishing and the dissemination of ideas, which is, of course, his music and what's going on with that. So once again, through the pain of his childhood the pain of his childhood, makes him uncomfortable in this area of higher education, learning, and travel. So here it is, the Chiron to Venus and the Chiron to Mercury is the YOD we were just talking about. And we do know that he has, this is his destiny. This is that destiny point. And we do know he's reconciled it. He is using the pain and trauma from his childhood, to bless us, to change the world, to use his musical expressions, his talents. He has really changed people's lives and inspired them. So, way to go, Eminem. So, in conclusion, this chart shows us that Eminem is intelligent, sexy, go-getter, with a traumatic childhood, who has used his talent, intuition, and his shrewd business skills to change the world. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.